Hey, hey, welcome to Candidly Speaking with Chelle and Kelle. I'm Kelle.
I am Chelle, and we are tickled to death that you are here. Whether you're live or you're watching the replay, we are so glad you're here. So thank you. And we'd appreciate knowing that you're here. If you want to put that in the comments, let us know where you're watching from. And if you're watching the replay, please put hashtag replay. We would also appreciate if you share this out to your friends because we've got an awesome guest tonight, as we always do. But I'm really excited about tonight. So
awesome guest. And please remember to subscribe. We're really trying to get past that 100 mark. So this is
we need people watch us on Facebook. It seems our news comes from Facebook, and we would really like to get some YouTube. So if you want,
because then we get special things. We can like get a special, I think, a name or I don't know. Just please, I'm begging you. Okay, so no makeup today. Okay, let's talk about being new homeowners. We both have recently purchased homes in the last year, and so while I was in Florida, I planned it so that when I came back, my pool would be opened. Okay. Now, to you, does being opened mean like you can go swimming in it after they're done? Is that what you would think?
Well, you know, I grew up with a pool. My parents have a pool.
That's right.
And when they open it, it's just open, and you certainly can't swim in it yet. First of all, it's not warm enough here. I mean, it's hot enough, but the water is still freezing cold.
Well, I learned a lesson. I learned a lesson. Opening a pool does not mean swim ready.
Yeah.
So I got home. They opened the pool Tuesday morning. I worked all day, just busy. And I thought, I'm going to go put my feet in the pool. And I go up on the deck, and I'm like, thank goodness it was light out. And I saw that it was green. It was like, it looked like a scum pond.
You're just uncovering it, and you're starting all of the.
Yeah, I didn't know that that's what. I didn't know what that opening meant. So I left a message for the pool guy. I go, there's a dead squirrel. It's green. I can't see the bottom of the pool. I thought it was open. And then he kind of clued me in and goes, well, ma'am, opening is just taking the tarp off.
Yeah, doesn't mean it's quite open yet. But there's no reason for you to know that if you weren't.
No. And he was R&R Pools in Winder. Awesome people. He actually came out today, and I wrote all these notes in my little notebook, so I know what to do. And he shopped it for me. So I am taking applications for a pool boy. So if anybody is interested, message me on Facebook or wherever you can find me. So that's all. I just wanted to tell you that I didn't realize that there was a difference between opening a pool and cleaning a pool. So apparently today my pool was clean.
I used to live 27 houses from my parents, and now I have moved a significant distance away. So it's going to be a haul for me to get to the pool now. There's a pool at the clubhouse in my.
You don't have to worry about it.
But I don't want to go there. I want to go home for that. So anyway, where people love me and will not judge the way I look in my bathing suit because they love me. Right. Not everyone at the pool here loves me. Not anyone.
Yeah, I feel the same way. That's why I love having my own pool. It's like
absolutely.
No shame. But anyway, I'm not going to forget our sponsors this week. We have Blue Sky Video Productions. We have Bruce Himmelblau, who is our producer. He makes all this happen. He gets us here on time. He makes sure we start on time. He pushes all the right buttons. So we appreciate you, Bruce. Thank you very much.
We do.
He's also a YouTube strategist. So if you need some strategy in your life and your YouTube, call Bruce. We have Ronnie Goodwin, Cotton Feels Good at Goodwin Graphics. He is the designer. And can you hear Max?
A little bit.
Sorry. He's ripping apart the box that I took away. Anyway, he's going to be making our t-shirts, and our guests that appear on our show they receive one of our beautiful t-shirts, and they will be ready anytime now. So I'm really excited about that. And then of course there's Cards That Wow. That's me, Cards That Wow. So I create wow moments for people and brands by creating a special handmade note card with your logo and your branding. And if you have any questions or need any information, just send me a message. So there's our sponsors. Let's get to our guest.
And y'all, her cards are absolutely fantastic. So please hit her up for that. Okay, our guest tonight, I'm so excited. I know I say that every week, but I'm really excited. He's an entrepreneur. He's a consultant. He's a speaker. He's been a CEO. He is an author. and his book is called Giant Success. Okay. There's Kellen's book. I ordered mine today, so I don't have mine yet. But please help us welcome from Phoenix, Arizona, Doug Wing.
Hey, Doug.
Doug
Hey,
Wing,
that
how
music,
are you?
yeah, that music's pretty
I'm,
awesome.
I'm going to tell you, I know you've been
Exactly.
talking about how you've been on so many people's shows and talking on podcasts and stuff like that, but nobody has music like us.
Yeah, that's quite the intro. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, ladies. It's a
jazzy.
pleasure to be here. Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, we are excited to have you here. So
Yeah.
Doug and I were talking before the show. I think Kellen and Doug have had quite a bit of conversation in the past, but today's my first day to actually meet you, and it's just an honor, and so glad to have you here. So
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
So
where do we begin? Where do we begin?
Well, I've got my list of questions, but
well, you go ahead, and then I will.
I don't want to be a Doug Wing hog. Okay. We're going to talk about your book. But I had just a few questions before that, Doug. When I think of Doug Wing, I will tell you the first thing that comes to mind is success, really. So talk about that. How do you define success? Why do you think you're successful?
Well, I will say that my parents had a lot to do with that, and particularly my father, who was one of the most successful men that I've ever been around. And thank goodness for me that I had not only a wonderful father, I mean, a man who was so positive and who never showed fear, and who wasn't afraid to take risks. And so not only did I have Hal Wing as a dad, but I also had the privilege of being able to work with him shoulder to shoulder when I was 10 years old. And so I learned not only, some great things from my father, but also to have him as my boss and as a mentor. Man, I learned so many things from him, working for him and then working with him, and then eventually, taking over the company, but just watching how he was with people, which is really what my book is about. A lot of my experiences I have, a lot of the success I have, I believe, is from watching my father, how he treated people, like his employees, his vendors, his distributors, his bankers, his attorneys, just everybody he dealt with, and just how fair he was, how kind he was, how he was also, demanded much and expected people to do their best. But I would say, being around a man like Hal Wing, boy, that really gave me a really good start to being successful. Now, that being said, he gave us opportunities, and it was up to us to perform and accomplish the things that we did. But he gave us those chances and opportunities, and I was fortunate enough to be able to take those and run with it, and everything was wonderful.
Well, I mean, what an amazing mentor and role model to have.
Absolutely.
And have it be your father.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the handful of people who don't know, who are watching, Doug, can you tell us, about the company, who your father was, company? They may not know that.
Yeah.
Familiar.
Sure. Yeah. So my dad started Little Giant Ladders 50 years ago this year. And my dad started it with nothing. I mean, he did not come from money. He grew up, in a very average household. He had a high school education, but he just had this incredible work ethic, this incredible attitude, and was very, very smart and good with people. And he was a good salesman, and he was very successful in the life insurance business. And so but he wanted to have the opportunity to work with his sons and his other family members. And so he started this ladder company. And in the beginning, it was not easy. It was not easy many times through the entire process. But in the beginning, all the big ladder companies actually made fun of my dad and told him he was going to fall flat on his face and that he was a fool. And he really used that as a fire, as a motivation to prove to these guys that they were wrong. And it's kind of interesting because the biggest ladder company in the world, after telling my father he was an idiot, basically, they tried to buy his company 4 times, and he never would sell to them. Yeah.
Wow.
Don't leave out that your dad was smart. I mean, he was brilliant.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
There's
mean,
no
in the
question.
development of new technology for the ladders, and it just, and it's, I mean, after reading the book, I'm like, this is one smart dude.
Yeah. And the thing that about my dad that was pretty amazing is, he was very short in stature growing up. He had really bad skin, bad acne, was teased a lot, bullied. But never let any of those things. I would say my dad was never a quitter. He just would not quit and give up. And that is so important in life today, is that we don't quit when, when the going gets tough, when the odds are against us. And he was just such a fighter, and he never gave up, and but he was smart. Yes, he knew exactly what to do, and he had he just had the confidence that other people could go with him, right? They believed in him because of his enthusiasm, his smarts, but also the way that he treated his employees. They were very loyal to him because he was so good to them.
Okay. Do you think he was harder on y'all because you were family than he was on other employees?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. He always said, "Hey, your last name's Wing. You're going to have to work, twice as hard
Yeah.
to prove
That's
yourself."
good for you.
And he
Good
didn't,
for you.
that's one thing I really liked. When I was a teenager, I didn't really like it, but I really, afterwards I thought, my dad's a smart guy. I mean, he did not just hand us everything. And you have a lot of these kids nowadays where they have this entitlement thing, and the parents, I think, meaning well, want their kids to have a better life, but they end up giving their kids too much, and they kind of become this entitled, society. But that's not how it was with us. In fact, my brother, elder brother, he got fired a few times, and I learned from that. I was very grateful to have an older brother because he made a few mistakes, and I was like, okay, don't do that. And so my dad thought I was really an angel.
Good for you. I can't read that. I know there's Doug. I have to tell you, when we see these comments up here, I can't read any of them. I can't.
Oh, okay.
I can't. I can't see, so I don't know what that says. But anyway,
Phil says 3 awesome people that I'm honored to call friends. Well,
Aw,
you're a great friend too.
Absolutely.
Oh, and he has a signed copy of Doug's book. I know. I got my signed
Get
copy.
one. I'm gonna get one.
Yeah, and I do appreciate. I got an order today from Chelle. I was like, oh, okay, wow, today's the day I'm on their show, and I got a book. I was so grateful.
Yeah, and yes, and I would have gotten that ordered sooner, but moved 3 weeks ago. So all I've done is unpack for 3 weeks. Anyway,
I
what
like
that's
to order.
like. You recently moved too, relocated from Utah to Arizona. So we've all kind of been through this lately.
All 3 of us.
Yeah. I'm sure you all were significantly more organized than I have been with it. But anyway,
I usually
I apologize
order books.
for whatever you see in the background.
I would say I usually order books like 3-4 weeks and before the guest is going to be on the show, because I know I'm getting to get busy, and I want to make sure I have time to read it. I read your book in a weekend. I couldn't put it down. That's how.
Well, thank you. And a lot of people have told me, they said the book is very easy to read.
Yes.
And it is a long book. I think it's like 144 pages, but I wanted to have it just be a real quick, easy to understand with short chapters. And then there's some things in the chapters afterwards where you can apply the teachings in each chapter into your life. But thank you. I wanted to make it easy to understand.
So it's perfect for people with ADHD. Perfect.
Yeah. Good.
Well, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I loved the story. The whole book. It was just an amazing from beginning to end. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you, Chelle. I'm sorry.
Well, no, that's okay. I'm late to jump on that bandwagon. But it will be read within 3 days of the time it's received. So
you'll love it.
Let's talk for a moment about. I know you talk about what a fantastic leader your father was, and I know you are a fantastic leader. What are some attributes? What are some things that make a good leader or make a bad leader? What are your thoughts on leadership, Doug?
Well, I think that the one thing that I learned, there's a couple things I learned from my father. One is that you need to know who your employees are, and my father was really good at that. I feel like I was really good at that too. But I always tell people my dad didn't walk through the front door; he went through the back door every day, and he literally knew over 400 people their name who worked for him, and he knew something about them. Now that in itself is not easy to do. Um, and so when that happens, and when you walk through the back door and you can stop and talk to everybody and call them by name and say, "Hey, how's your son doing?" If maybe their son's sick or whatever, people quickly that work for you, employees quickly realize how much you love and care about them because you are interested in them. Most bosses walk through the front door, they go in their office, they close the door, they do their work, and then they leave. And but Hal Wing had this really unique ability to connect with his employees, but it did take work. And so I would say that was the first thing: is know your people, love your people, develop relationships with them. The second one is my dad never had an ego. He was always humble. He was a good listener too. That's the other thing that's really important is not to be arrogant and think you're better than people, and then to be a good listener. And in my book, it talks about, people say, when your dad listened to us, when he was listening, he paid full attention to us. And we knew that he was paying attention and listening to us. And so I think those are three things right there that are very rare. There's a story in the book about a guy named Jerry Jessen that worked for us. And I think this was very touching to me when he said, "I knew your dad loved me so much. And knowing that he loved me made me work even harder for him because I didn't want to disappoint the man." And I thought, wow, how many of us can say we know that this boss loved us, right? Not very many, really, But he, that's the kind of guy that Hal Wing was. Is his employees knew he loved them, he cared about them, and that made them even be more loyal to him and work harder for him.
Wow.
When he wasn't afraid to do some work. Oh, wait, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I cut you off, but go ahead.
I don't remember. Go ahead.
I was just saying he wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. Like, I remember one part of the book where there was some ladders that were wrong, and he trashed them all, and then he got to work with the production people and finished the order with the proper quality that he, the standard that he had set. And how many bosses would do that? Normally they would just say, "Hey, redo this," and move away. But he actually was working in the plant helping with that order, and that was, who does that these days?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. My dad was in his 60s, and they had this what they called Hal Week, HAL Week. And my dad was the first guy to go out there and work on the floor in his 60s, the CEO of the company. And he built ladders for a whole week, and all the salesmen went out there, but he was shoulder to shoulder with them. And this guy was a multimillionaire, and he was out there building ladders. And just think about the morale and what the employees thought. My gosh, here's the CEO of the company, the owner. He's building ladders with us. It was incredible.
Wait, I'm not sure if you just said this, but didn't he make all the salespeople go build ladders? Is that what you just said? Okay.
Yeah, it was called Hal Week.
Hal Week. Okay, yeah.
The salesman joked and changed the A from an E, and they called it Hell Week. But I'll tell you what, though, every year they did that. What it did was two things. It helped the salesman learn about the product more, and they were more knowledgeable. Like, okay, this is why we put a rivet here. This is why we weld this. This is why we do this. And then it also gave them a really good appreciation for everyone that was in the factory building the products year after year, working their rear end off. And I think it made the salespeople appreciate those that built the ladders more.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And, just doing that, Doug, talk about speaking volumes to his employees or anyone, who might have been watching that situation, how he was to Kellen's point, willing to get his hands dirty and just be so approachable and listening. So many times people just want you to listen to them. So it sounds like your father was just a remarkable, remarkable gentleman. Now, your mother worked there as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, my mother was a stay-at-home mom until all of us kids were gone, and then she actually worked in manufacturing and built ladders. And then later on, she was she was kind of the office manager, so she was very talented as well. But she did everything. But I mean, now stop and think about this. My mom really deserves a medal. Here's a guy that had 7 kids. And my mom and dad, think about this. My mom and dad were about 26 years old, had 7 kids. My dad was on the road for over 300 days a year. My mom had no driver's license, and because her eyes were not good enough to pass the test, but she took care of all of us, fed us, took care of us while my dad was gone, never complained. And incredible woman. Yeah, just incredible lady. No way my dad could have done what he did without my mom. There's no way.
Well, behind every
Sounds
great
like
man.
quite a team. Yeah.
There's just no way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what inspired you to write this book?
Well, 2 things
Or why did
really.
you decide? Why now?
Well, what happened is when my father passed away, we were cleaning out his house, and I found this manuscript. He had actually started a book, and none of us knew about it. It was probably only 2 or 3 chapters, but I was kind of intrigued by it. And I said to my siblings, hey, can I keep this? And they're like, yeah, we were just going to toss it. So I kept this for like 7 years, 7, 8 years. Every once in a while I would look at it. And over the last few years, people came to me and told me stories that I had never heard before. Now they said, now that your dad's gone, I can share this with you. We had one lady walk up to us at my dad's viewing and said, well, now that your dad's passed away, I can tell you I was homeless and your dad bought me a house. I promised him I would never say anything, but he's gone now. So I'm going to tell you. And we had no idea. We were blown away. So I had all these stories come out. I already knew some of the stories about his life, but I thought, this story, maybe for a family legacy thing, would be a good thing to do. But then as I started getting into it and I heard I interviewed almost 40 people, I was blown away by these stories of giving, of helping, of loving, of giving people chances. And my mind was blown. And I thought this book has to be shared with the world because it's going to be a game changer. And if people would just do what Hal Wing did, if all of us did what Hal Wing did, the world would be in a much more incredible place. But that's kind of how the whole book got started. Now, I did this during COVID. I did it all on my own. I had a few people helping me and kind of guiding me, but I quit 2 or 3 times, and it took me 1.5 years to do this book. And now that it's out and I'm getting this feedback, and companies are asking me now to speak, and they're telling this is incredible. I mean, I know this book, I'm so grateful I did it. It's blessing a lot of people. I mean, it's been incredible.
Well, I love that, you're getting speaking engagements, but I love seeing the posts of you speaking at the schools, to little kids. And, I just love that. Just like your dad, you're not too big for these things, you're a very humble man. And it's just so fun to watch all this stuff that's happening around this book since you published it.
Oh, I mean, I was asked to come to speak to a 3rd grade class in Cedar City, Utah. I was blown away. I walked into this class, and the entire class with their teacher, Mr. Hunt, had read the whole book. And I walked in there, and they're just like, their eyes are like, they're lit up, and they think I'm some famous guy and stuff.
You're famous, yeah.
Come on.
And what was amazing is I just walked in and said, what did you guys learn? Just raise your hand. What did you learn? And this cute little girl said, I learned that patience is a waste of time. And I thought she was going to stop there. And she said, meaning when you see an opportunity, you take it immediately. And I thought, these kids are so smart. My gosh. Mm-hmm. But anyway, and then all these other kids were raising their hands. My mind was blown, And so then later that week, I taught a 6th grade class, and these boys came out 4 boys came out to help me. I brought a ladder and I brought some shirts and things and the boxes of books. I gave them all a t-shirt that says I am a giant success. And I gave them all a book. But these boys, you can see the guy that right there in the blue suit, they all came out with suits on. And they greeted me and said, Mr. Wing, we're here to help you. What can we do? I mean, I was like so shocked. But the teacher was a former Marine, a woman, and she was wonderful. And I was like, wow, she was in the Marine Corps, but they were so good and they were so awesome. It was amazing. Yeah, it was really amazing.
I love that teachers are putting your book in the hands of students. I mean, 3rd grade, those are little guys, but you know.
Oh yeah, they were so, and they were just, I had just blown away by what they had learned, and I thought, wow. And then, I was talking to Ken Walls and his wife, Jill Walls, and they said, you could do an entire program for schools. And they said, This would be an amazing thing, kids. And so what happened was I gave all these kids a shirt and it said, they all say, I am a giant success. And they put it on over their other shirts and they're running around. They went out in the hallway. And what was really cool was all these other kids started running in. They said, do you have any more shirts? Do you have any extra books? And so I probably had, 10 shirts left over and 10 books, and I gave them to all these other kids and they're running around. Anyway, it warmed my heart. It was so wonderful. Yeah, it was great.
That is fantastic. And I completely agree with Jill and Ken, two very smart people. I mean, what a phenomenal opportunity for kids to get to hear that, because sometimes I think we, kind of sell kids short. We think they can't take that in, or they don't want to take that in. They wouldn't be interested in that. And why would we not want to give them at such a tender young age, tools for success? Jeffrey Gitomer says, have them, raise up your children to expect success. So I love that, Doug. Good for you. Thank you for doing that.
Oh yeah, it was really fun. And then I had another lady in Salt Lake. She said, will you come speak to a middle school? And then another gentleman that's a teacher of a high school, he said, it's like one of those charter high schools. He said, would you come and do an entire assembly? And I was like, wow.
So fun.
It's fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, I see you doing this. This would be a wonderful, thing for you to launch. And you heard it right here, folks, on Candidly Speaking. This is what Ken may do in the future. That's fantastic. So I love it. I love it.
Got some good comments. Oh wait, there's Cynthia. I was walking down the street today in Washington, D.C. to my next appointment with my IT guru and looked to my left and saw a little giant ladder. The next 20 minutes was all about Doug Wing, Hal Wing, and my visit to the corporate giant ladder office in Utah.
Wow. That's, what's funny is, people start talking to me about ladders, and I have, even women like Cynthia, they say, now I'm looking at every truck, every van. I want to see what kind of ladder they have on the top.
That's right.
It's really funny.
I finally stopped sending you pictures. Like I'd see your ladder somewhere and I would send it to you in Messenger. Like, look, they're at Costco. Like, duh, they're at Costco. I don't need to send you a picture of a ladder at Costco. But I've noticed some on TikTok videos. I think I should do one of those. But yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, I notice them everywhere now.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad used to be on those infomercials, and seriously, he got pulled over one time by a policeman. He goes, hey, you're the ladder man on TV. And then, true story, Angelina Jolie's dad, John Voight. My dad is at a charitable thing in LA, and Jay Leno's there and John Voight's there, and John Voight comes up to my dad and he goes, hey, you're the ladder guy on TV. And my dad was blown away. he's like, John Voight knows who I am, yeah. Pretty cool.
Well, he was like the beginning of that whole, shop on television. And I mean, and he was a brilliant man when he set up all that. He wouldn't do a script. He refused to do the script. He knew what he wanted to say. He knew how he wanted to say it. And I mean, he took control of it and aren't they still running now sometimes?
Yeah. Every once in a while, it still runs. But what's really interesting is like, I'll be somewhere at a hotel and all of a sudden I'll hear my dad's voice. The TV's on. And seriously, I'll see my dad 10 years later and hear his voice. It's incredible to still hear his voice, and see him on TV. But the Little Giant infomercial in its category, the hardware category for ladders, that category is it just blew all the other records out. Totally, it was amazing. Yeah.
Here is the finest 17-foot extension ladder you're ever going to get your hands on. You have a wide flare at the top. You have a wide flare at the bottom. You have nice, soft, non-skid feet, both ends. Won't mar the walls, won't let you slip. And then you can bring it down one rung at a time, just like this, and adjust it wherever you need it. You get the length that you need for the job at hand. The other thing that's nice about it is, have you seen any ropes or pulleys on this ladder that, hang out and get you tripped up? With our design, you don't need those, so you can come down rung at a time, every place you stop, and even if you miss the holes, they snap in automatically.
Wow. So that's unscripted. That's just him speaking.
Yeah. When the infomercial came out, my dad said that there was like a script this long, and he said, "I'm not doing this." He goes, "I know exactly." They're on the set, they're getting ready and everything. And my dad says, "No, just roll the cameras. I know exactly what to do, exactly what to say." Wow. Incredible.
Yeah. Surely he would be able to speak about his product, but that's amazing.
Yeah. Wow. He's a natural.
Yeah. It sounds like he was just an innovator in lots of areas and lots of things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. I want to change gears for just a minute. Really. I was looking at your Facebook page. Okay. Mm-hmm. You really like things that go. I've never so talk about that for a moment. The cars and motorcycles, and I don't know what all you're into, but things that go fast you like.
Yeah, we actually started racing dirt bikes, me and my brother, when we were pretty young. And my dad was always like into speed. Even if it was riding horses, he rode them fast. If it was cars, whatever. But what was interesting about my dad is when he was younger, he was totally, their family was poor. They didn't have the money, but he loved motorcycles. And so when my brother and I started riding and racing, my dad started doing it, and he was older, and people would, in fact, one time, it's a young man's sport, right? But my dad would just go and do it. And I remember one time in Salt Lake City, after my race, I was up in the stands, and my dad's racing with just kids that are 18, 19, 20. And my dad's in his, at that time was probably in his 30s and 40s. And the announcers, going through and saying, okay, because every bike has a number on them. And he's like, oh my gosh, he gets down to my dad and he says, "Folks, I can't believe it. There's Hal Wing out there." He goes, "He's just 3 years younger than God." But anyway, so they would always make fun of him. But my dad was like, and when he first learned how to ride dirt bikes, he was terrible. He'd crash his brains out, and his friends were making fun of him. But he had such a drive that within 4, 5, 6 months, my dad was completely beating all his friends. He had the will to he goes like, "I'm going to be faster than these guys. I'm going to smoke them." And he did. So wow. It was really fun to do all that with my dad, but he was just, and so I got that need for speed, the car thing, the bike thing. And I stayed away from horses because my dad always got bucked off and he had broken ribs. So I said, okay, horses are no good.
Wow. You all, excuse me for one moment. I'm so sorry. My baby girl has called me 4 times in a row here, and I'm actually on my phone here. So I'm going to excuse myself for 1 second, if you all don't mind. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you're fine. We'll keep going.
We can talk more about, so you have quite a collection of cars, and you're just finishing building your man cave for your cars?
Yeah, we have a nice building, in Utah that my brother and I still own, the Little Giant building, but unfortunately that's 700 miles from here. And so, I'm working on building a small little place that I can bring everything down, and it's 10 minutes from my house, which will be nice. But yeah, the car thing is just, it's something just to play around with, but they're not the most important thing in life really, but it's kind of just a little hobby. But
so what is the most important thing in your life?
I would say really my religion, my friends, my family, that's really, the most important thing in my life is helping other people, and kind of spreading the word, through my books, through speaking, kind of teaching these principles, of how to treat people, how to work with people, how to help people, love them. and develop relationships. I think that's kind of what I've been working on, over the last couple of years. And it's really been fun to kind of spread the message about Hal Wing and what made him successful. I think we talked about this a few minutes ago, that I think if everybody, and especially today, I mean, most people are so in such a hurry. Some people are just downright rude today, and just if you cut somebody off in traffic, or you're at a green light for more than a second, you get not only a
And they
horn.
honk at you. I'm like, I'm just pressing the gas.
Yeah, sometimes you get the finger and everything else, but I think just teaching these principles in this first book of hey, this is how you work with people, this is how you treat people, and if you do all these things, you'll help them, and you'll also get what you want out of life. That's kind of the focus of what I do now.
So 2 parts. What is the most important lesson your dad taught you?
Oh, she's back.
Sorry about that, guys. Thank you.
I would say the most important lesson that my father ever taught me was to always tell the truth. And, one of the big things, and Kellen, you've read the book, but one of the things that he told the sales guys over and over again that I just never forget, he said, you can tell the customer anything you want to, as long as it's the truth. And I think that, the way that we sold our products, yes, our products were more expensive and they were better quality, but we never badmouthed our competitors, even when they were cheaper and lesser quality. But our competitors would often tell people, oh, Little Giants are overpriced. They're too much money. They're not what they say they are. And they're heavy and all this stuff. But we always took the high road, and it always came back to us in spades. And so I take the most pride, I think, of my career at work was always doing the right thing and being honest, and not ever bad mouthing our competitors, and it served us well.
Okay, now the second part of this question is, what is the biggest lesson your mom taught you?
Wow, that one, I've never had anybody ask me one. That's a good one. Man, I'd have to think about that one for a second. Let me think about that.
Okay. I didn't mean to stump you. I just thought.
No. I've never had anybody
We've all
ask.
talked about your dad, and it's like your mom was a very strong and resilient and brilliant woman as well. And I'm sure you learned something from her.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to.
Okay,
I know what it is now.
Okay.
The thing that I did learn from my mother was to be good with money. And I will say that my mom grew up during World War II, and they were very poor. In fact, my mom talks about being down in the bomb shelter and hearing the American planes dropping bombs very close to their house. In fact, my grandfather's bedroom and my grandpa and grandma's bedroom was completely blown one time away. So half their house was gone when a bomb dropped on their house. But my mom said my mom will never forget. She never forgot, like she would have to go around every day, her and her brothers and sisters, and beg just for one potato or one onion. And so, and then my grandma would make a soup out of that, and they would all share it. I mean, we're talking 5 kids plus my grandma and grandpa. And so my mom, it's kind of cute about my mom is she was so thrifty. She taught me how to balance a checkbook and to save. I would say that I learned to be good with money from my mom. But it was funny when my dad was passed away and my mom was in her 70s. And every day I would see my mom and she would say, am I going to run out of money? And I was like, Mom, you're a multi-millionaire. And she would be like, I don't want to run out of money. And she was,
Bless her heart.
oh, she was so good with her money, and she left it all. I mean, she, of course, you can't take it with you, but she was so aware of, she always remembered how hungry she was, how poor she was. And she always taught us to take care of what we have and to be good with our money.
And and you may have said this when I was off. Where did your mother grow up, Doug?
Germany. Yeah, Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, you know, there's some cool stories from my mom that a lot of people have never heard. But my mom said that my grandpa was a bus driver in Germany, and that the Nazis would come to him every week and say, "You've got to sign this paper. You've got to sign this allegiance to us." And my grandpa would never sign it. And they kept threatening him, saying, "We're going to send you right to the front, and you're going to be on the front lines unless you sign this paper." My grandfather never signed it. He never had to go in the military because he was a bus driver, and his job was needed.
Mhm.
But after a while, the Nazis gave up and didn't make him sign the paper. But yeah, there was a lot of interesting stories from my mom about growing up during the war, and she had one dress growing up, one dress, and she said that they would wash their clothes by hand, and she would have to wear her pajamas until her dress dried, and then she would be able to put her dress back on.
Wow.
Your heart. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'm glad that your family was prosperous. I'm glad.
Oh, my dad! I'm telling you, my dad. Yeah, my dad spoiled my mom. It was always fun at
Good.
Christmas time. We'd go up
Good.
there on Christmas Eve. We'd go up there on Christmas Eve, and everybody'd open their gifts, and then my dad would always come out the last minute with like something very special for my mom. It was always some amazing piece of jewelry or something, and we'd all be like, "Oh, whoa!" He really spoiled my mom. You know, he made it up to her for all the stuff she didn't have growing up. Believe me,
I love that.
she was very grateful. Yeah.
I love that.
And I bet all she just cared about was having all of you together.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah. We moms are like that.
Mhm.
Nothing means more than having all your babies together in one place.
Yep.
So, Doug, what kind of legacy do you hope to leave?
I think that I'd like to leave, something similar to my parents. They were such generous people, involved in a lot of different charitable work. A lot of the things that they did was anonymous. I try to do a lot of those same types of things, but I'm involved in some different charities, some kind of that they did, and I kind of continue them, but then I have some other things that I do on my own. But I'm always, one thing I learned from my dad was to always have my eyes open. My dad was always looking for people, I believe, every day that he could help. And so I think you have to be open. You have to have your eyes open and be in tune to know who to help. And my dad was really good at that. I mean, and after my dad passed away, my mom, bless her heart, she was so cute. Every Christmas, my mom would have these little envelopes, and she had these widows' names on it. And there must have been 10, 15 widows every Christmas. And she would have the addresses and the names. And she'd say, "Now go give these to this lady and this lady. And I want them to have a good Christmas." And I just had these parents that just had hearts of gold. And it was just incredible to watch them. Man, they paid for people's college. They paid for people's missions. They paid
Roofs.
roofs, houses, cars. I mean, just stuff. And you never heard about it. And it was just incredible to later know that, gosh, I mean, incredible. Yeah. Just incredible.
Well, and your dad gave people chances too. Like if they had a record wasn't there somebody that was not going to be hired, but your dad said, "No, we're hiring that person." And he ended up being like one of the longest employees, or a very long employee, right?
Yeah, this was years ago in the late 70s, early 80s, and they were interviewing for manufacturing positions. And the guy that was over manufacturing, they had a list of resumes, a stack of them, and he, in front of my dad, they're in the conference room going over these. In front of my dad, he takes the first piece of paper, the first resume off the stack, and he goes like this, and he says, "We don't even need to interview this guy." And he threw it in the garbage. He goes, "This guy's a loser." And my dad went over to the garbage can, picked up the piece of paper, uncrinkles it, and he says, looks at it, and he goes, looks at it for a second, and he goes, "I don't see anywhere where it says this guy's a loser." And he said, "I see here where he's served a mission for his church. I see here where he's an Eagle Scout." And the guy said, "Well, he just got out of prison." And my dad says, well, that doesn't make him a loser. Bring this guy in for an interview. They bring him in. My dad finds out this guy's incredible. He's an incredible man. He made a mistake. He's got a wife. He's got 4 kids. My dad hires him. He ends up becoming, the shop foreman, a supervisor, works for us until the day he retires. And just think about that guy. What if my dad would have believed that guy and never responded and said, yeah, he's a loser. Forget about it. But he had a sense of, of helping people and giving them opportunities and really looking at somebody's in their heart, not what happened to them. But yeah, I think that goes back from him being bullied as a kid and being teased. And I think he never forgot that he was an underdog. And I think he always looked out for those that were bullied or that were down on their luck. And that was one thing that was incredible about him.
Sounds like there were quite a few things that were incredible about him, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was another guy. There was a guy that went to church with my dad, and he was an older guy, but he was a little bit hard of learning, a little slow, maybe borderline almost retarded, but he was slow, and he sat at home with his mother and was paid by the state to sit at home and watch Gunsmoke and Happy Days and all that. And my dad went up to him one time at church and said, Mike, his name was Mike. And he said, Mike, I think you can work for me. And he says, no, I can't work. I can't work. And my dad says, well, I'm going to come and talk to you and your mother. So his mother was older. I mean, she was probably in her 60s at that time. And my dad said to her, he goes, I think Mike can work for me. And so, my dad brought this guy into work, and all he did all day long was clean up. And he cleaned up the manufacturing shop floors. He picked up garbage. He swept. He mopped. He cleaned the bathrooms. This guy worked for us until the day he retired. And I'm telling you, my dad, for him to have a job, he got his self-esteem back. He got his a self-worth. And this was a guy that was slow. He was slow mentally. He wasn't, he didn't have the capacity to do a job, a bigger job, something. But my dad said, you can do something. And so he gives this guy a job, and this guy just grew as a person, and, and he worked for us for a long time, and he retired and went to Florida and moved in with his son. But I thought, here's a guy that nobody would ever, they just leave him alone. But my dad saw something in him and said, I think you can work for me. And it turned out great.
I love stories like that.
I know, me too.
Wonderful. Well, Doug, is there anything that you have not told us that you would like to share?
Not really. A few months ago, I got another book offer from Mark Victor Hansen, had dinner with him, and which totally blew my mind. He offered me a 3-year deal with his company, and he said, we're going to write books together. And I'm actually working on my second book right now.
Awesome.
So it'd be my first book with him, but second book. And this book is fiction, which is really, really interesting. And I just barely got the update on the manuscript today from his company. And so this book is coming. It's probably halfway done already. And I'll tell you what, working with a company like Mark's is really great because I have all these people that help me now, and it makes it so much easier. But I'm really excited about this book. It's called The Giver. And so what we did was Mark sat me down and said, look, I know you have more stories about your life and about your father's life. And I want to do a series. We're going to make fictional names, but they will be real stories, fictional characters. The stories will be real. And let's do 4, 5, 6 books together. And so we have this company that's totally fictitious names, but the stories are stories from my life and from my dad's life. And I think that people are really, really going to like it.
So it's like the Dragnet of the Wing family.
Yeah.
The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Yeah. And, according to Mark, I guess that a lot of fiction is really hot right now with their company. And so, yeah, it's going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah.
Well, we can't wait.
We can't. So do you think, what, 2023? What do you think?
Oh no, this book's halfway done. The cover's done. I would say by August it'll be completely done.
Nice.
And what's nice about, with Mark's company is we'll be, he'll be involved in the promotion of it, and just having his name on the book, and his company name with Chicken Soup and his name, and we're going to be I'll be doing quite a few live events with Mark Victor Hansen, and podcasting and signings and live speaking events, which is kind of cool. Yeah. So it'll be probably in August. You'll see it on social media. Yeah.
You have to keep us updated. We'll have you back.
For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I love me a new book.
Yeah.
You do. Well, you just got all kinds of things going on, Doug Wing. Good for you. You're a big deal. Really big deal.
Well, that's Cynthia. Yeah. That was one year at the Mastermind in where was that, at North Carolina? Yeah. Cynthia, Jeffrey Gittimer, Jamie Green, and that's Ken and
Jennifer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jen. And, what was the name of the other guy that's right next to? Is that Robbie? Is that his name? Robbie?
Is it Robbie Cornelius?
Robbie Cornelius. Yeah. Robbie Cornelius. Yeah. He's a really nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm a big deal or not, but like I said, I'm grateful for all the many blessings I have, and to be able to do what I do. So yeah.
Well, it comes back. It comes back. And you know that. I know that you know that. But you bless others, and you get the greater blessing. So
Exactly.
I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. So,
For sure.
well, okay. Doug Wing, we have a tradition here.
We have a tradition. Bruce. I love that.
So we were prior to air here, and what did you tell us about your moisturizer of choice, Doug?
I told you I didn't really have anything, but I always see those Old Spice commercials where the wife is trying to steal the husband's moisturizer or whatever. Maybe I should just buy some of that Old Spice stuff. I don't know.
There we go.
You should.
If you do that, will you check back with us and let us know?
Yeah, I mean, it might really help my skin. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, you've got to take care of all this. This is like I said, you're a big deal. You're out in front of people. So yeah, you've got to make sure you moisturize, and start that right away. We're not going to beat you up about exfoliation yet. That'll be the next show.
That'll be the next one.
All right, we'll do it.
So, okay. Well, Doug, it has been such a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
It's been great.
Thank you.
Guys, get his book. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on DougWing.com. You can get it. And you've got another website too. Is it GiantSuccess.com?
GiantSuccess.com. Yeah, that's yep.
If you want signed copies, you can go there. I don't know that you can get a signed copy on Amazon, but
no, you can't do that on Amazon.
Those are there. So get his book, Giant Success, and it looks like there's another one that will be here before you know it, his next book. So just really good life lessons.
And it's just a great read. It is so, I couldn't put it down, literally.
Well,
I read it in 2 days.
Thank you so much.
So thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you to our sponsors, Blue Sky Video Productions, Bruce Himmelblau, Ronnie Goodwin, cottonfeelsgood.com, and Cars That Wow. So we will see you guys next week. Same time, same place.
Yep.
Different guest.
That's right. You all have a wonderful week, and check out Doug Wing. He's a cool guy.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.